Croeso I sianel Blaid Llwyd. It's a very restful way to start. Yes, we're back in Tiernan, back with Far Beyond the World. And since I'm pretty sure you'll remember where we left things off last time, let's just jump into it. Sounds remarking that tomorrow is another day. Daybreak comes quick enough. I'm already rustling around the house getting cleaned and dressed. My morning routine is brought to a halt when I notice something troubling. The dandelion nestled comfortably inside the cup is not fully open. I inspect it closely, noticing that the outer petals look rather dull, and I realise that it began to wilt. I know I could easily replace it with one of the hundreds that grow outside, but to me it's more than just a flower. It's not even about Rannoch giving it to me. I have plenty of mementos, but rather about the time that has passed since his departure. It's been 4 days, and though I've been kept busy, I'm not only missing him, but also now I'm grown incredibly worried. The talk of war at the villa, elders calling for Rannoch's blood, and Vul jesting about possible Sylvan uprising, it's all too much. Anything could have happened to those packs, and Rannoch's life is in danger either way. Even if he does come back unharmed, that doesn't mean he's safe. Besides, everyone talks about a rescue mission, preparing for the worst. I worry you might have witnessed something horrible. They're all gone. A sudden chill fills my heart with the dread of death. If that's the case, if they all perished, I wouldn't even know how to console him. One lost friend would be bad enough, but losing a whole bunch of them could break a person. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. No matter what happened, I'll try to be there for him. You'll never be enough. I know, I reply in resignation. I know I matter little in the grand scheme of things. I'm just a leaf blown on the wind. I'll be there for him nonetheless, no matter what you say. I just want to see my wolf come back unharmed. Hill! Enough! I command with all my strength. I don't need your help to worry about him. I worry not because of your incessant meddling, but because he saved my life. He's a good wolf with many who love him. Should anything happen, I won't be the only one to suffer. So leave me be. I have enough despair to deal with. I stand there for what feels like hours, gently petting the flower and succumbing deeper to fear. Any more and I would have broken completely. A decisive knock pulled me out of the stupor. I blink away any moisture and rub my cheek. I'm fully aware it's full. I recognise the forceful sound of his knuckles against the wood. I approach the doors and pull them wide open, mustering a welcoming smile. The wolf walks in, allowing me to close the doors behind him. Oh, here's your chow, Piglet. He passes me a linen bundle. Thanks. I accept and turn towards the table. His massive paw lands on my shoulder and stops me in my tracks. I face him slightly confused as his nose twitches awkwardly in my direction, as if picking up on an odd scent. It's just lavender soap Larissa gave. I smell fear and anxiety. Huh? I blink, immediately put on the spot. Your heart is out of rhythm as well. What rattled you so? Fuck. Them mood detectors really make any attempt at a poker face completely pointless. I don't see any reason to lie to him either, although I'm sure he'll just brush it off as me being a whiny bitch. I'm just worried about Rannoch. It's been 4 days. I try to sound brave, but my voice wavers and he picks up on immediately. Seriously, Piglet, he's an alpha, he's fine. You're being emotional again. Yep, there it is. Thanks, Vul, that cheered me up no end. I shrug and brush away his paw. Since he can read me like an open book, I stop pretending and put my despondency on full display. I pop the parcel onto the table and unravel the linen. Again, I find a selection of meat and cheeses, accompanied by 2 freshly baked rolls. But even this homely meal cannot bring a smile to my face, as all the joy got sucked out of me. I know that something pushes me to feel sad and helpless, but now is the right time to allow those feelings. I'm worried. I'm sad. Whispers all without. A deep sigh draws my attention back to the wolf, who looks at me with a resolute expression. Yesterday noon was the latest Rannoch would have reached the northern border. I guarantee he's already located the missing packs, and if they aren't on the way back yet, they soon will be. You have nothing to worry about. You keep saying that, but... Actually, no. The only thing you have to worry about is bringing his house up to scratch. The wolf interrupts, giving me a scornful look. There's no moonshine, the beer's nearly gone. Oh, Barry managed to fill a mug yesterday. And I can smell the sweaty linen all the way from here. Some good attendant you are. He scoffs mockingly and I feel thrown off. I bet he didn't even do his laundry. Your master is returning home from a long and exhausting mission, and this is how you want to greet him? Despite his crude words, I smile, trying not to tear up as I realise what he's doing. He's attempting to cheer me up and seal my resolve in his own bullish way. He's driving the point home that Rannoch is coming back, and I couldn't be more grateful for this. I know it's not easy for him to show concern, so I decide to play along. Well, I don't know where to get the beer from. Well, we can easily amend that. He walks towards the doors and opens them nonchalantly. I look at him confused as the male nods towards me. You coming? Oh, what? Where? The brewery. Well, I can spare an hour or so. I'll have you stock up on booze for Rannoch's return. Laundry you'll have to do on your own. He sneers and I nod, laughing. For sure. I approach the doors only to stop at the last moment. I throw my gaze towards the table and decide to take the dandelion with me. I've kept it in the house for way too long. Perhaps some light might help it unfold again. I push the flower into my pin and follow the wolf outside. We hop over the steps and Wool leads me towards the village centre. As usual, sip it, Piglet. I nod in agreement and silently follow. The cool morning breeze pushes the silk dress against my skin, and I have to admit, I began enjoying how sensual it feels. I don't think I wore silk before, well, I'm not surprised royalty dressed in it exclusively. It's so comfy. I'm enjoying my garment so much that only now I notice how the wolves scurry about. With Wool walking beside me, there are no evil eyes or growls from yesterday. I'll have to keep that in mind when out alone. Those cowards are only barking when I'm without an alpha at my side. The tribe is very much up and running, with different shops open and busting with activity. As we pass the stockades, I notice someone arguing with a fishmonger about their wares. In fact, you could smell the argument from afar. You dare to say my fish is old? Old? It's downright rotten. It stinks up the entire place. Come here and say that to my muzzle. Looks like it's about to turn into a fist fight. I whisper softly, covering my nose, and Wool chuckles. Yeah, won't be the first time. We speed up slightly, trying to escape the undeniable stench of old fish. Definitely not a catch of the day, that's for sure. I mutter nasally as I'm pinching my nose. More like a catch of last week. The black wolf laughs, visibly holding his breath, and I join in. It's nice to share a joke. We leave the built-up streets of the village and the houses become scarcer and scarcer. The bad stench is left behind and we're again able to breathe freely. It would seem we've arrived at the opposite edge of the settlement from Rannoch's cottage. There's a clear path here, but no houses around, and we continue walking beneath the woodland canopy for a short while. Eventually my nose is hit with a different, yet somewhat familiar smell, reminding me of plain cornflakes. An involuntary smile appears on my face as I reminisce about eating a bowlful dunked in cold milk. Wool notices and gives me a rather unsettled gaze. You're enjoying this? Oh yes, it's a smell of breakfast for me. Breakfast? Oh my. The black wolf grimaces. Smells like pig chow to me. Then again, you are a piglet. Ha ha. As we approach a solitary homestead, roofed with what appears to be moss and grass, the smell intensifies and becomes less pleasant. It's sickeningly sweet now, overpowering even, and I finally cover my face again with a shawl. A chubby wolf is standing in front of an open kiln, topped with a massive copper vat. It boils and bubbles, the source of the aroma permeating the air.
Tybalt! Volgor!
The wolves exchange cordial greetings, but the stranger quickly centers on me with a rather unsettled expression.
I see you brought a visitor. A creepy-looking thing. I don't actually haven't seen him at the feast.
Fuck, he's right. I recognize the male. He's one of the many onlookers Tano peddled me to. He even scored a petting of my head, which he now relives again through gentle ruffling of my hair.
I did.
The wolf concedes through a chuckle.
I have a weak spot for the creepy crawlies.
And he calls me an insect.
Anyway, what can I do you for? I come to restock Rannoch's cellar. Again? You need to stop raiding his supplies.
I second that. Had it not been for Vol, we wouldn't have had to be here in the first place.
Why are you bitching about it? Keeps your business running, doesn't it? Oh, fair.
The male nods again.
So, what do you need? The usual? Nah, I need the stout Rannoch likes. You have a spare barrel? I do, but that stuff ain't cheap. It's the one that goes to the villa. I know.
It would seem you can take a wolf out of the palace, but you can't take the palace out of a wolf. Rannoch has some refined tastes.
I also need moonshine, but the drinkable one, triple distilled. Well, someone feeling generous today.
Tybalt laughs and walks towards his cottage. Once he disappears inside, I look to Vol with a mixed expression. He seems nice, I say with slight irony.
Oh, keep quiet.
The black wolf brushes it off and keeps his eyes drilled in the doorway. Eventually the chubby wolf strolls out, holding a small clay flask in his paw, similar to the one at Rannoch's house.
Nah, fuck your little bottles. Give me one of them big flagons.
Vol protests, pointing towards the workshop. I blink in shock at the sight of them. There must be 5 litres at least.
Entire flagon? You need to pace yourself, lad.
Agreed.
Aren't we taking drinking advice from the village drunk? Drunk? Ah.
Tybalt takes the insult surprisingly well, simply laughing it off.
I just need to make sure my wares are up to scratch. You don't see me taking a bite of every slab I hand out. Our meat is different. It's primitive and vulgar.
He protests, pointing toward the bubbling vat.
This is art, boy. Very well, I'll remember that next time you come round my shop.
Vol sniggers.
I'll make sure to give you the most primitive and vulgar cut I can find. Oh, vindictive like your mother, I see.
My eyes widen. I hope there's more of their banter to come. The wolf simply walks towards the assortment of barrels resting against his house.
Anyway, 1 barrel and 1 flagon. You'll have that whelp take care of it.
He pats one of them, nodding towards me, and I swallow heavily. In your dreams, old man.
I'll break his arms, always break the barrel. He can carry the moonshine. Kind of useless as a ward, isn't he?
The wolf mutters, narrowing his brows as Vol approaches him.
Almost seems like you're taking it out for a walk. Once you shove that flagon up my ass, I don't see how else I'd carry it all back on my own. Ha. Fair.
Both wolves grab the topmost barrel and struggle to move it down. As it looks somewhat unstable with just the 2 of them, I rush to their side and, with what little strength I have, try to prevent the thing from tipping over.
See? Not as useless as you think.
The barrel thuds against the ground, and Vol tilts it on his side, rolling towards the pathway.
Anyway, I have the same for myself. I'll just come back and fetch it later. You're robbing me of a good week's work, boy.
Tybalt laughs, walking beside us. Vol stops the roll at the kiln, straightening up and rummaging inside of a small pouch at his back. He reveals a silver octagonal coin, flipping it to the chubby male.
1 Vithas token should cover that.
Tybalt is caught by surprise and nearly drops it.
Vithas, you say? Well, I'll be damned. In that case, next week is on me.
He laughs merrily, patting the black male.
Not that I mind, but why? I have a long tab outstanding with that bastard. Shoving his own token in his muzzle will get him off my back for the foreseeable future. I stop drinking his wine, he should be fine.
Will shrugs, and I nearly let out a chuckle.
Olgar, I've been brewing beer and booze since you were a pup. Wine is all I have left to enjoy. Engaged to sucking his dick. After all, he owns all the wine-producing boroughs.
Tybalt erupts in another bout of laughter. He reminds me a bit of Vither.
Oh, clever bastard. He controls the wheat too, so my trade is heavily reliant on his.
Wait, they own the boroughs? Not the ones Sylvan folk live in, I hope.
Each wolf has his place, said the village butcher. Between you and him, you control 2/3 of the food around here. I guess my mother knew what she was doing. Set you off alive, that bitch did.
My eyes open wide at the comment, and in spite of being made in clear jest, Will doesn't seem to take it kindly as his form slightly tenses up.
I understand you're bitter, but she's still my mother. Wouldn't want to break your jaw on top of your broken heart.
I blink at the last comment while the brewer laughs.
Oh, no offence meant. One day you'll understand, lad. You will. Oh, trust me, that day already came.
Now I'm really curious about Will's mom. My rampant thoughts are brought to a halt as Tybalt's paw lands on my shoulder.
Oh, mind lending me a poor wee bugger?
He opens a small jar filled with what looks like a cross between an acorn and a Brussels sprout. Despite the off-putting appearance, they smell quite lovely, like fresh cut grass.
See those? Fetch me a pawful from the shed.
He joins his paws together and points to the wooden hut nesting against his house.
They'll be in big bags like those.
His paw then indicates the big sacks of wheat, and I simply nod.
Where's your son? Shouldn't he be helping you around? My son? He's the one who needs all the help he can get. He's most likely chasing ghosts through the woods again.
I open the door with a slight creak and disappear into the storehouse. It's filled to the brim with different barrels and bags.
Is it still that bad? Honestly, he never really recovered.
The pillow-shaped ones are obviously filled with grain. There are 4 big Santa-like sacks at the very back. I untie one of them and take a sniff. Bingo!
He's a wolf without a purpose or a place in the tribe. He gave up on himself a long time ago, and so I followed suit. No point in setting yourself up for another disappointment.
It's hard to discern anything over the potent aroma of boiled wheat. There's an inkling of a scent somewhere here I very much want to get to. It's the smell of the forest, very akin to what Rannoch smells like. I retrieve one of the green sprouts and take a deep breath. Nope, that's not the one.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I really did try. He was just... Oh, that's fine, Vol. It's not your responsibility to carry the wool's weight.
I untie the second bag and immediately smile. This is the one. This one smells like my wolf. I grab a handful as requested and walk outside.
There's never much for a warrior, nor is he especially spiritual when you think about it. I'm not surprised he ended up with how he did. I decided to give him until the equinox. If he doesn't get his shit together, I'll send him off. Why to? First to his mother, then it's the ancestors' will. I'm done with being the village laughingstock.
I allow their exchange to finish before presenting my find to the male. To my surprise, his snout twitches and he lightens up.
Damn, he's got a good nose, that one. Won't be my first choice of hops, but it might be exactly what I need.
He puts the sprouts into the jar and rubs his paws together, causing Vol to look curiously at the bubbling vat.
What's that you're brewing? A new blend. I've got bored cooking up the same old stuff. I dusted off some recipes, but found nothing remotely inspiring, so I'm winging it. The bunnies had a very odd year, and their hops are of varied qualities. I've been tinkering with different ratios, and this one's quite floral. Speaking of...
He looks to my pin and points at the dandelion.
That gives me an idea. I haven't done dandelion wine in quite a while. Oh, you can make wine of the stuff? Of course. Very tasty too, very much akin to mead.
Tybalt smiles in satisfaction.
It used to be Eileen's favourite. I brewed casks of the stuff back in the day. Oh, those were the times.
I can see Vol's expression sour and readjusts himself uncomfortably.
We better get going. I'll fetch my stock before the feast.
He mutters, bending over the barrel and giving me a telling look before rolling off towards the town.
Oh, sure thing.
That's an oddly abrupt end to a conversation. But I simply grabbed a large flagon and bowed respectfully to the wolf and rejoined Wool at his side. I'm glad I'm not the one rolling that keg, but the moonshine isn't exactly light either. I cradled the bottle against my chest and we walked for a while in silence, allowing some distance between us and Tybalt's house. Finally, when we were in the clear, I cannot contain my curiosity any longer. Who's Aileen?
Oh, don't go there, Piglet.
Wool mutters, though he doesn't sound angry, he's quite stern.
Forget that name, and if you value your life, don't ever bring it up.
I take it she's your mother. I conclude, which she only scoffs.
You're deaf and dumb. She's not my mother.
Okay, so what was all that about?
Look, it has nothing to do with me, and it certainly has fuck all to do with you.
His voice takes on a more serious tone.
We don't talk about her in this tribe, and definitely do not mention her to Rannoch.
I'm pretty confused about this warning, but something tells me it's a good idea to listen. And from context, I get a feeling that Aileen might be Rannoch's mother, making the whole conversation more troubling. Something must have happened. Something bad.
You're overthinking shit again, Piglet.
Wool mutters, drawing my attention. He clearly picked up on my shift of mood. Sorry, you're right. I chuckle and seize this opportunity to tease him. So, Tybalt was in love with your mum? I assume unrequitedly.
Oh, fuck knows.
The Black Wolf shrugs.
Mother liked attention, just like all females do. She led a lot of wolves on. He was just the last one to get that.
I always want to say that it's quite ironic coming from him, but I decide not to. Where's your mother now?
She moved to be with her current mate.
In another tribe?
Nah, another village south of here.
Just as I thought, there are more places like this in the forest. Despite the appearance of being quite settled, they don't seem to be staying in one place for long. Do you miss her?
Miss her?
The wolf scoffs.
She hardly could shut up, constantly yapping and growling, kinda like you. I was glad to see her back after my great feat. Once she's gone, I could finally have some peace and quiet.
Do you visit her?
What for?
I seem to be musing with my line of questioning, and the mocking in his voice becomes apparent. I don't know, because she's your mom?
What am I, an unweaned pup needing a tit to suckle on?
He gives me a telling look, insinuating that's exactly what I sound like to him. I roll my eyes.
We all have our lives, Piglet. Just because you have a pup doesn't mean you stop living. I've got my life, she's got hers. She did her job as was expected of her. In fact, she did it better than most. She earned the right to move on.
No denying that. He's doing quite well for himself. She can definitely be proud of you, that's for sure. I smile reassuringly and manage to draw another subtle tail swish from the male. We enter the village in silence, so it's not safe for me to continue talking. The wolves pay us no mind, despite the loud creaking of the barrel across the pathway. I guess it's not the perk of being in the company of the most notorious wolf in the tribe. Wool seems to be on the lookout, obviously worried we might stumble upon someone he'd rather avoid. But so far, so good. As much as I hate doing it, my hands grow rather sore. I have to plop down the jug to take a few moments' rest. Wool stops his roll and looks at me with clear annoyance, but all I can do is shrug apologetically. Carrying 5 litres around is not something I'm used to. As I rub my arm to do away with the cramps, I notice Tano in the distance. He has a rather mischievous smile upon spotting me, and begins heading in our direction when he suddenly notices Wool. His quick and comedic change of mind comes with a little surprise, and the wolf marches off in the opposite direction. I chuckle and pick up my jug, nodding to Wool that we can continue.
What's so funny?
He looks confused, clearly unaware of this little near miss. Nothing. I mutter in amusement. I decide to let the white wolf off the hook. When we arrive at the cottage, Wool brings the barrel to a stop, and I observe as he stretches his muscular back. He arches himself a few times with a satisfied groan, clearly getting rid of a cramp, and then points to the shed.
I'll grab 2 thick logs, long enough to scale the steps.
I nod and walk over there, rummaging through various pieces of wood. Once I return with his query, he grabs the logs and places them over the stairs, creating a ramp. Again I admire his body tense as he struggles slightly to push the barrel onto the wood, but he's strong enough to make it happen. The gravity gives in for his bulging biceps, and the wolf simply rolls the barrel up the stairs as if it were a trifle.
You done gawking?
He sniggers, noticing my intense gazes, and I shake my head as he resets the barrel to an upright position.
Put them back.
I do as asked, and once I return, he's already moving into the kitchen, wobbling it from side to side. I like his ingenuity. I'd have probably given up unable to roll the damn thing through the narrow door frame. He stops at the table and moves the old barrel out the way when I close the door. Once he's set the new cask in its place, he releases a long sigh. What should I do with this? I shake the jug.
Well, put it in the cupboard.
I thought we would split this. It's quite a lot of booze.
Well, considering the frequency with which we now visit this house, I'd say it's adequate. There's 4 of us, after all.
True, I suppose. I smile and approach the cupboard. Maybe unintentionally, but he just counted me as one of them. As I hide the jug inside one of the compartments, Bull lifts the empty barrel as if an oversized mug and chugs down the remaining liquid. I watch as some of it spills over his chin and drips onto his pecs, slowly trickling down his chiseled torso down to his underbelly. Damn, that's hot. Fuck, I really am pent up. I really need to stop objectifying people.
What?
Nothing. I blurt out, locking my embarrassed gaze with the floor, causing the wolf to do the same.
Oh, sorry about that.
He responds, noticing the puddle he created, and mistaking my fluster for annoyance over the spill. It's fine, I'll take your advice and do a bit of housekeeping. And now that I know where the spring's at, I can also do Rannoch's dirty laundry. I try not to linger in this awkwardness.
That was a joke, although I'm sure you'd appreciate it.
The wolf scoffs, rubbing his chin clean. Well, give me something to do and occupy my mind. It's just... I pause, looking around.
Just what?
I'll have to hang it to dry, but I didn't see any laundry racks outside. The wolf smirks and approaches the cupboard, opening the middle drawer and removing a large loop of rope.
Yeah, Rannoch uses this.
He passes to me and I immediately recognise it.
I was bound with Rannoch's clothesline. You're so clueless at times. You span it between trees and the cottage.
My confused expression is again misread by the wolf and I chuckle. I know what to do with it.
Then what's the problem?
It's just a bit absurd, don't you think? Last week you bound me with this, and now I'm going to dry laundry on it. I shake the rope in my hand.
Well, life's full of surprises, innit?
He shrugs, but is unable to deny that the situation is somewhat funny, and finally lets out a subdued laugh. Once our joint merriment subsides, he grabs the empty barrel by the rim and approaches the doors.
Right, got to go, Piglet. You sit tight. The guards won't be giving you any trouble. If they do, flash them my token. Should set 'em straight.
He sneezes in amusement, and I almost blush, reminded that I even got it.
You haven't lost it yet, have you?
No, I have it right here. I point towards the cupboard.
Good. Just stay clear from the village today.
Why's that?
Well, it's word that Dran was going around asking questions. I wouldn't like you to run into him. Not while he's excitable.
Excitable? I subdue a chuckle, as that's one way of putting it.
Yeah, those old-timers rarely if ever bother with the plebs unless they're out sniffing. And the last one we want them to sniff around is you.
True.
You take care, Piglet.
He bobs his head respectfully and leaves, allowing me to go about my day. His idea is quite good, a very efficient use of my time, while avoiding any potential freakouts. I quickly stuff myself with a few nibbles, washing down with some water and go to the bedroom. I waste not a minute and strip down the linen, down to the mattress, which I find quite smelly as well. In truth, it's just a sack packed full with hay. Before I decide to take it apart, I look around the wardrobe for any spares. As luck would have it, I find fresh bedding behind the first door, which allows me to continue with my task. I carefully remove all the straw to one side and add the mattress to the laundry pile. Lastly, I check the pillows, which are laced at the edges. Once I undo their fastening, I find them to be filled with soft feathers. Again, since there are spares in the wardrobe, I do exactly the same as with the mattress. When the laundry heap is complete, I decide to fix the bedding before the draft blows the house full of straw and feathers. Stuffing everything back in the fresh duvets takes quite some time. For after an hour or so, the bed is back to how it should be. I feel quite proud and accomplished. I am a good ward. My boastfulness dampens a little as I gaze at the massive pile of linen to wash. It'll be a handful, but at least I won't be left at the mercy of my own thoughts. I take it all to the kitchen and fold it neatly into a basket. There's still some room left, and I'm reminded of Rannoch's chest. That thing needed to be cleaned out a week ago. I walk back into the bedroom and open the latch, peering inside. Right, the padded armour definitely could use a wash. So all the loincloths dotting the bottom of the chest. As I remove them one by one, dropping onto a new pile, I sense my heart rate speed up and I'm suddenly flushed. His smell, his musk, it's so intoxicating, immediately drawn back to that forceful kiss. His lips pushing against mine, his breath, his scent. For I know it, I'm already inhaling deeply one of his underwear, and I nearly yelp out my own perviness.
What the hell?
I'm like one of those cliché kids sniffing jock sundies in the locker room when they're not around. Ugh, now I'm all so hard. I seriously need to take care of that tonight. I cannot be walking around on edge like this. I'm basically turning into a huge horn dog at this point. It's just Rannoch's dirty laundry. Get a hold of yourself, Sam. I simply empty his locker onto the pile and close the chest behind. Once everything sits neatly in the basket, I grab my bar of soap and drape one of Rannoch's spare cloaks across my arm. I'm leaving the most fragrant one for my comfort blankie, should the nights grow too lonely to face on my own. Making sure I've got everything, I step outside and head for the spring. The day enters its late afternoon hours, judging by the low-hanging sun in the western sky. I've managed to wash out the loincloths along with the pillowcases and the padded armour without an issue, but the linens are quite stubborn. Not to mention, when soaked, they get incredibly heavy, and my sore arms hurt more than I would like. It's been at least a few hours since I came here. God, do I miss a proper washing machine. Or a laundrette. Laundrette! My kingdom for a laundrette! I chuckled, shaking my head. When he said I would find you here, I thought he was joking. Jesus Christ! I yelp out in panic, despite recognizing her voice. Who? Never mind. I mumble, rushing after the linen I drop before it gets washed away. You scared the crap out of me. You move like a ghost. I finally exhale, trying to calm my startled heart. I take great pride in that. Not funny. No, not as much as finding you here. Again, I thought he was joking. I mean, he did suggest it as a joke, but I might as well do some proper work while I'm alone and idle. I shrug, leaning back in my spot and proceeding to soap up the cloth. That's the spirit. She nods in approval and kneels beside me. What were you saying back then? Oh, it was just a joke. I wave my hand at her. In your native tongue? Wait, you didn't understand it? Not a language I've ever heard. That comment throws me off, but then I just flush my brows. Well, I suppose a laundrette is quite an obscure word. What does it mean? Oh boy, here comes the ticket situation again. It's a place filled with washing machines. Washing machines? Maybe you are mad. She rolls her eyes and laughs mockingly. What? Why? Once I see the look on her muzzle, I realise they're most likely unfamiliar with the idea of home appliances. This is all you need for washing. She points to her arms and reaches out for one end of the linen. Allow me to lend you a paw. She takes hold of the cloth and moves it over onto one of the smooth stones. She reaches the soap and I pass it to her, watching as she glides it across the now straightened surface. See, this makes it easier, and you get the soap into the fabric more evenly. Thanks. I mumble in gratitude, trying to mimic her method. She helps out by taking care of the remaining bedding. We work for a while in silence, passing the soap back and forth. That should be all, no? Marissa asks as I rinse the last of the cloth of soapy scum. Yeah, just need to wring those. Good thing I'm here then, huh? It would definitely take more time, that's for sure. We each grab one end of the linen and twist it in the opposite direction, squeezing the water out from between the fibres. Once it's done, she helps me fold everything neatly into the basket. Your marking's washed off a little. I state, seeing her tattoo lose its sharpness. Oh, it's all right. I have to redo them every now and then. What do they mean, anyway? You can't read them. No. She gives me a somewhat confused gaze, but her voice carries a hint of a jab at our exchange from a few moments ago. Huh, curious. I thought you said you read some books. I assumed they were Wolven, but they might have been Tigerian.
I guess.
I shrug and pick up the laundry, ready to depart. This language thing is really getting more and more bizarre. The basket got quite heavy on account of the remaining moisture held by the cloth, and I struggle a little. Marissa simply grabs the other end and helps to alleviate the burden. I smile to her in gratitude, and she simply winks in return. So, what are your markings, anyway? They're a prayer of protection, warding off evil spirits. You believe in those? I believe in the ancestors, Sam. She chuckles. There are evil people out there, some of them even amongst us. Why would I not believe in evil spirits? That's a good question, I concede with a smile. If I had ancestors like Aldris or Dran to look forward to, I'd also ward against them. When we arrive at the cottage, I prop the basket and fetch the clothesline. Marissa helps me string it between the trees and some hooked nails protruding from the side of the house. We created 3 racks this way, more than enough to dry what we have in the basket. Before I manage to voice my concern about the wind blowing some of the lighter items away, she showcases me a small bowl filled with wooden laundry pegs. She retrieved it from underneath one of the bushes and nestled against one of our support trees. Looking at it now, I can see the bruises left by previous washing-ups. I guess she helped Rannoch before, if she knows where those were. Not the first time doing this, I assume. If you mean laundry in general, of course not. If you mean doing it for Rannoch, you clearly don't know me well enough. She chuckles, then helping me straight out to one of the duvets. I did often watch Rannoch do his routine. Why? There's nothing more satisfying than to watch a male fail at the simplest of domestic tasks. Is Rannoch that helpless? Was, at first. He learns fast, though. I smile, reaching out for the remaining loincloths. Once everything is hung and secured, I pick up the basket and offer her to come inside. Want something to drink? We've restocked Rannoch's supply. I offer, closing the doors behind her. So I've heard. Anything interesting happened? Not particularly. The brewery smelled nice at first, but it quickly got a bit overwhelming. Yeah. She chuckles. Good thing Tybalt lives on the outskirts. But even despite that, the wind sometimes carries the stench over to my place. About that drink, then? I shake 2 mugs, which I just rinsed in the bowl. Aren't you just sweet? I'd love to, but I can't. Marissa looks troubled towards the window. Aldris and Dran are in town. I've heard, but don't they live here anyway? Not in the village, no. She shakes her head. They live in the woods nearby. Closest they ever show themselves is the villa, and you've seen how far away that is. Yeah, a bit of a trek. So you can see how having them walk around the village and poke every wolf they find is a bit troubling. You think they're after me? She can't help but snort in a somewhat undignified fashion. Not everything is about you, Sam. She teases and I smile. Oh, we wouldn't want them to run into you, or worse yet, find out I'm sipping drinks here. True. So I better get going. I also want to check in on Vul. I have a feeling they might be questioning him later. I'd rather avoid bloodshed. She shudders slightly and I laugh. I'm not worried for Vul. And neither am I. She replies in a quite serious tone. I just don't want this to get ugly. You know how easy it is to set him off. Yeah. I nod hastily, my levity now completely gone. That Dran guy's literally asking for someone to rip out his throat. Seeing Vithra and the chief being ready to throw down, edging Vul in the same fashion would be suicidal. I mean, not a great loss as far as I can see, but I don't think any harm to those old farts would come without consequence. I'm sure I already said that, but stay put. I nod in acknowledgement. As much as I don't like it, Cora will bring you some food in the evening. It'll be easier that way with them around. She's nice, but don't mess with her. She's smarter than she looks. She states firmly, opening the door. Oh, I've noticed that. Only a fool would dismiss her. Haha, perhaps there's yet hope for your sex. I hear her melodic laugh as the doors close. With her gone, I pull my dandelion from the pin and look at it closely. It unfolded beautifully. It's almost as radiant as the day Rannoch left it. I'm immediately relieved and hastily put it back in the cup. It really just needed some sun, just as I needed some fresh air. I find that getting work done feels very rewarding and think about celebrating it with ale. However, I quickly find the barrel is not tapped and I have no idea how to get to it. So I simply sit back and enjoy my hard-earned meal properly, nibbling on Wolf's meats and cheeses. I spent the remainder of the day washing up the dirty dishes and cleaning up the house some more. There wasn't much work left, so I had a long dreary chunk when all I could do was worry about the elders. They really show their faces rarely. Why now? Does it have anything to do with Rannoch? Or me? I know Varissa said not everything revolves around me. However, the Chief and Vither both believe that I might be the unknown to tip the scales. In all fairness, I wouldn't like to be on the scales to begin with, but such is life. How crazy things got since I woke up. That little amnesiac bundle of anxiety, angst and despair. My memory didn't get any better, but boy did shit get complicated fast. I wouldn't mind trading places with that little wimp. However, I'd have to relive this whole thing over again. I grimaced, rubbing my fake dress in. In truth, between each wash-up I saw the scar fade further and further away until it's just a barely visible scrape now. I cast my troubled gaze at the barrel. Fuck, I could really use that ale. I'm not going to drink moonshine on my own. That's just sad and most likely will give me the voices something to bitch about. I've been doing fine so far, despite running out of errands. I'm not going to sabotage myself like that. And should they become more persistent, I might secretly copy Varissa's markings and see if that will help. Oh, you don't like that idea, do you? I can sense it. Both of us can play this game. It'd be an interesting experiment, that's for sure. And it could provide me with more proof should I have to confront them about my slight unhingement. A knock stirs me to the here and now, and I'm reminded of my evening food delivery. I straighten up my dress and approach the doors, opening them with a polite smile. Just as expected, Cora enters the house with a deliciously aromatic pie in her paws. Damn, my mouth waters at the smell of what I assume is meat and rich gravy. Hello, pet, how are you holding up? The usually melodic voice sounds rather aggravated. Sorry about running so late. I was held up by an interrogation. She continues to talk as I was one of them until she simply blinked in self-realization. Oh, I know. Again, as her custom by now, she pantomimes a shaky elderly person with a walking stick, then proceeds to yap with her hands. I can't contain a chuckle. She's spot on with those. She'd be a freaking pro at charades. You get it. I bet you had your own share. You have no idea, sister. Without asking and of her own accord, she fetches a plate and a knife, starting to cut into the pie. I've been asking all sorts of stupid questions, like, did I notice anything odd about Rannoch? Or have I seen any unusual spending on his part, as if it were any of my damn business? What's odd is that fat lump of flesh in a cape tailing Aldrich like a damn shadow. Are they even a thing? Ew. She sounds quite rattled, clearly offended by the whole situation, and seems more like venting rather than talking to me. I'm not going to lie, I don't feel happy about them conducting some sort of inquest. I was right, they're trying to find dirt on my wolf. Anyway, I know Rannoch most likely did buy some things for you. I mean, who wouldn't? She shrugs. Not all of us can watch Ward shamble about in tatters, half-starved to death. Bally cheek. She paused in her task, barely containing a growl. It's his damn money. If he were to drape it in pure gold, that would be within his right. She even asked me about the pie, if all the food is accounted for. The nerve! Cora resumes her task and places a sizable slice onto my plate. It's my food, I paid for it. What business is it of hers? Oh, I told that vile woman, if I like, I'll stuff you full of pheasants and grouse. She's nearly shaken and I place a hand on her shoulders. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm babbling. I know you can't understand, but just had to get this off my chest. Her saddened gaze trails the general direction of the village. I wouldn't be able to deal with the feast otherwise, not with them present and Rannoch gone. She frowns, looking at me with genuine worry. I can wholeheartedly understand that sentiment. Perhaps I didn't handle them well, but they get so nosy. And they're clearly trying to find some hook to use against Rannoch. I feel quite taken by a remorseful sigh and tap her shoulder encouragingly. There's a wolf worth a damn around here. It's definitely him. No argument from me. I better get going. I thought they'd take my TARDIS as an excuse to barge in here.
God forbid.
I hope you enjoy it, sweetie. She mutters, approaching the door. It's beef with plums and apricots.
Sounds even more delightful than it smells.
See you later, pet.
Her customary farewell sounds very downtrodden, and I wave at her with genuine worry. Damn. Things are much more serious than I expected. Despite the extremely appealing meal, my appetite is quite gone. So, the elders were interviewing everyone. Perhaps wearing this dress wasn't a good idea after all. But what else was I supposed to do? Go dressed up as Mowgli? That or a sexy hobbit? As the hours go by, my tortured thoughts begin going in circles. I simply dig into the pie where it grows completely cold. The meal lifts my spirits somewhat, so I enjoyed the deliciously hearty gravy and succulent meat, accompanied by some juicy prunes. But at the end of the day, it's just that, a meal. It won't solve any of the problems we face. The amount of work done today, along with a full belly, quickly sent me into a daze. I decide to wash up and head to bed. I leave the fire burning, as well as take Rannoch's scented cloak to give myself some comfort, while I drift off into hopefully undisturbed sleep. Once I'm snuggled comfortably in bed, I simply close my eyes and take deep inhales from my blankie. The scent of my wolf sends a pleasant chill down my spine, and I reminisce of the few times we shared this bed. I miss him terribly. The longer I linger on him, the more and more my mind drifts to that kiss. I can almost feel his steamy breath against my skin, his hard groin pressing against mine, as his tongue explores my mouth in a passionate kiss. My breath speeds up and my loins come to life. It's hard to keep my mind straight when it comes to that wolf. I'm pretty pent up. I haven't done anything naughty since I woke up, and since then I've been teased to hell edge and left hanging. Not to mention that intoxicating kiss. Ugh. Because this is on YouTube, I need to keep a cool head about this. I don't even know if when he returns he'll want anything more to do with me beyond his official capacity. There's no point lighting a fire just yet, especially if it could be hard to put out. For now I'll have to vent some of that pent-up energy in another way. I sigh deeply, snuggle into the blanket and try to fall asleep. I surrender the endless void in hope of some calm to take over me. Struggle all you like, there are many paths to stray from. To be continued. And there we go, that is it for this build of Harvey on the World. I'll put all those links into the description so you can follow Kale and download Harvey on the World, and if you want to support the VN on Patreon, the link is right there. And speaking of Patreon, I have to give a mention to Popot, Leames, Marcus, Brian Hall, Gunnar Muller, Rusty Alvarado, Tiger Cub, Ida Corval, Anubis Silverwind, Brandon Bradford, Dissonance, Samuto, The Beholder, David Taylor, Evan King, and Grizz. And speaking of Grizz, two segues in one thing, that's not bad, eh? Grizz's password is the next video. We're doing day 17 at Hammond Manor, and that will be coming out on Tuesday, as I record it. If you're ever wondering, when I talk about different days, it's always going to be based on Yukon time, since I know you're all scattered around the place and time zones are weird, so that's what will be happening on Tuesday afternoon for me. I'll be recording Password. Next weekend, we return to San Vicente as we carry on with Ocean Avenue, which is Dirk the Red Panda's VN, all about volleyball and being at college. So that'll be fun to do. I played through the Prayton build already, and he says he'll have the public build out next weekend. So the May 2-4 weekend will be me recording Ocean Avenue. So that's a few things to look forward to there. And I still don't know what we're going to round off the month with. There's one more weekend video to come yet. So we'll find out what happens when it happens. But thanks for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, until next time, bye for now.